Our next speaker joins us from General Mills, and so I'd like to introduce Ryan Baker, who's a Global Consumer Insights Manager for Emerging Technologies, and he's going to be talking to us about some of the experiences that they've had at General Mills. So please welcome Ryan. Thank you.
Are we on here? Can you all hear? Not on here. Is this on? Can you guys hear in the back? Yeah. Yep, pack's on. There we go. Now? Just quick typo note. So the program has me at B Baker. I'm actually Backer, B-A-C-K-E-R. So if you're trying to find me, feel free to tweet during the presentation if you have comments or feedback. All right, so I'm from General Mills. I work on our emerging technologies team. Quick show of hands, who was at MRMW last year up in Minneapolis? So a quarter or so. For those of you who were here last year, you may have remembered Janine Bassett, our VP of Insights. I was on stage talking about our commitment to mobile. Today's presentation is essentially chapter 2 of that, so bear with me for a couple slides while I catch everybody else up, and then we'll go from there. So very high level, here's the timeline for General Mills' journey in the world of mobile and the collision with marketing research. In 2011, we recognized that there seemed to be an opportunity of embracing mobile technology in the marketing research space. We didn't know exactly what that looked like, but we dedicated an individual to trying to sort that out. And over the next couple of years, he did a fantastic job finding partners and really accelerating the movement within the organization. And in 2013, like I mentioned, Janine stood on the stage and she made a number of pretty bold statements. I think they were memorable for those of you here last year. Two of the most memorable ones were by 2014, General Mills committed to doing 80% of its research via mobile technology, mobile devices, which was a pretty bold statement. And then also said by 2014, we will be out of the business of mobile. And what she meant by that was out of the business of supporting mobile. We'll still be doing it, but we won't have a team dedicated to helping with the mobile conversion. And so I'm here today to talk to you about, like, well, did we really do that? How did the last 12 months go? And as far as what the future holds, I'll tease a little bit of what we're thinking and where we're excited to go next. So 2011, backing up a little bit, we bet big. Like I mentioned, we dedicated a resource to trying to sort this out, a guy by the name of Andy Didbig, who many of you may have worked with in the past. And he did a spectacular job of identifying partners. He went to conferences like MRMW, he vetted well over 100 suppliers, and he found a few that we felt we could really kind of put our arms around and really springboard this mobile movement ahead. And then he was the one who made that big 80% commitment. He showed up in Janine's office one day and said, by 2014, we're gonna be doing 80% of our work on mobile. And she nodded her head and said, yep, I bet we are. And I'm gonna share with you a couple of reasons that happened. So first of all, we made the move to mobile because we had to, and Tony did a spectacular job of pitching this slide basically for me. Adoption growth through the roof, right? And it became the default access point for consumers trying to access content on the internet, and not just content, fun content like survey content. We found that in 2013, 30% of individuals who were accessing our surveys that were not designed to be taken on a mobile phone, were happening on a mobile phone. And you can imagine how that felt doing a long form survey on a small screen. And then our growth targets, millennials and multicultural. If we want to find them, they're on mobile devices more frequently than the rest of the population, and that was the way to go. And then we talked a little bit about multitasking. I was maybe a little less politically correct, but I think mobile's created a little bit of an ADD nation. We have really short attention spans, and the long form research formats of the past just plain don't work with consumers anymore. We had to move to mobile. We also did it because we wanted to. We pride ourselves, General Mills does, on being a consumer-first organization. We try to put the consumer first in all of the decisions that we make, and mobile research just feels more consumer-friendly. And so not only that, but we love the bells and whistles that the mobile phone can bring to research. So multimedia, we can now do research with pictures, we can do research with videos, we can scan UPCs, we can work location into the research that we're doing. And adds a lot of benefits, right? But above all, it was the ability to be in context, in the moment, and generate these real insights and real moments as they're happening. If we were to talk to this woman about her snacking behavior in a focus group amongst a room full of strangers, she would not tell us about this instance. But through mobile, we'd see things like this. We'd get images like this to say, excuse me, hey, I make this midnight run to the refrigerator every once in a while, and here's what I'm thinking when I'm raiding the fridge. And last of all, just because it felt right. If you look at the left side of the screen, and forgive the language on the top left corner, one respondent was not real thrilled to take a long form survey. But doesn't surveys and focus groups just feel so 1980s? It doesn't feel like the way we'd be doing research in the 21st century. And what does feel right is what you see on the right. The information can just be so much more rich. If I'm working on our Nature Valley team and I want to get a better understanding of what the competitive set is for our products, typically we'd poll consumers. We'd send a survey out, we'd have a closed-end list of other categories, and we'd base our insight on that information that we got. But it's so much more rich if you could say, hey, take a picture of your snack drawer at work, and we could see the other items that were in the pantry, and we could peer basically over consumers' shoulders and understand their lives in that way. If we want to talk to a retailer about an out-of-stock issue that we feel they may be having that they may or may not agree with, in the past we've brought survey data to them, and now we can say, hey, here's 100 pictures from 100 of your shoppers from this past weekend expressing frustration about not being able to find the items that they want. And lastly, the ability to do ethnography via mobile phone has been a game changer for us, because instead of conducting interviews at a scheduled time on a certain day of the week and trying to understand consumers' emotions and behaviors in that vein, we can capture it as it's happening via mobile phone. I'm not sure how, can I get some help here clicking the play button on this? You should, yeah, mouse over, there you go.
You know, as far as party planning goes, I actually
sorry
think the
about that.
Princess gig is one of the easier parties that you can plan, just because there's so much stuff out there. And I mean, I think you can probably see behind me, we are surrounded by princess stuff here. It's everywhere. So we're not lacking in ideas. And we're not lacking in availability either. The most challenging thing for me, and I'll see if I can get this so you guys can see it. Do you see that castle right there? That one? That's what baby girl wants her cake to look like. Apparently there's a cake pan you can buy that'll look just like that. And while that's very cute, this particular mom is very not talented in that regard, so that's going to be my biggest problem.
I mean, that feels like 21st century research. That's the information that has really resonated with our business teams. That was some work that our Betty Crocker team did, trying to understand mom trying to please her children on their birthdays. That felt right to us. Okay, so now, how did it go? How did that journey over the past 12 months go, or really over the past several years go? And our Vice President, Janine, has this mantra of GEMO, good enough, move on. And I'd say that's how the journey went. Are we doing 80% of our research now in 2014 via mobile? Probably not. It's really hard to measure, first of all, but I would say we're probably not at 80%, but we're pretty close. We're good enough, and we feel like it's time to move on. And I'll talk to you a little bit about how we got there and why we feel that it is time to move on. So how we did it, first of all, we heavied up. I mentioned that we had a team of 1 dedicated to mobile in 2011. By 2013, we had 7 full-time employees dedicated exclusively to helping our brand teams do research on the mobile devices. And they would basically hold hands with the divisions. They'd say, hey, it's okay, we've got what's your business question? We've got a solution for you. And kind of one by one through our, across the function, we taught the organization how to fish doing mobile research. And then on a monthly basis, our consumer insights community gets together and has these capstone-like meetings, and we were on stage frequently showcasing wins along the way. And so we would say, hey, you know, here, look at what the snacks division did. And shortly after that, our Big G, or cereal division, would follow and say, hey, we want to do that too. And that was really effective in our journey. And I don't have this captured on the slide, but another thing that helped is our VP made all of us put on our objective, do more mobile research. And so at the end of the year, when you're calibrated against something like that, we tend to see some movement. So that was incredibly helpful. It was also really helpful when we were able to redefine best practices, when we were able to take things that people are really accustomed to doing on a routine basis to address their business solutions and say, hey, if you do that exact same thing, just do it on a mobile phone, it's going to be better. And there were a number of examples of where it was just crystal clear to our marketing research team that was in fact the case. I'm going to build all of these and talk through them. So the first is ethnography. Like that birthday cake video I had shared, we just found that instead of trying to have scheduled interviews with consumers in different parts of the country, we can capture moments in real time as they're happening across the globe very easily without having to schedule time and send our researchers out to connect with consumers. Shopper satisfaction, really anything that we did in store is better on mobile. It's better because you don't need the retailer's permission to get in the store and do the work. It's better because you're not basing the information on recall. Like, hey, tell us about that trip that you made to CVS 2 weeks ago. We can actually have them conduct the research while they're in the store, while they're shopping. iHuts was another area that was benefits from being mobile. We now, instead of having to ship product to consumers, we can make them go shopping, buy it themselves while they're there, evaluate the shelf, tell us how well a package may pop, how easy it was to find, and things like that. So we could really blow out the iHut and take that to the next level. And then ANUs, really all things survey. If we put them on a mobile phone, one of the biggest benefits is that since your mobile phone is always in your pocket, we have always on mobile panels, and so we can get data back in literally minutes sometimes if your target is large enough. And so that was a big driver of adoption of the instant ANU. The other place where it really helped drive adoption is where we invented new capabilities that address business questions that we never before had solutions for. And I'll build these as well. Mobile missions is really a catch-all for when we said, hey, we want to learn about some particular event or some particular experience, and so we would just send consumers on a mission. We'd say, hey, go on a picnic and tell us about it. Go on a road trip and tell us about it. Go to Walmart this weekend and try to find these 3 items on a shelf, or show me the most compelling promotion that you find as you walk the store. The other place is Geo Intercepts, and so what we mean by that is your phone has a GPS device in it, and so we can, with willing respondents, we can follow them around, we can understand their shopping behaviors, and we can ping them when they walk into a Walmart and say, hey, I see you're shopping at Walmart today. Would you talk to us about your experiences in the cereal aisle, for example? And then the last 2 I'll kind of combine into one, but we received constant feedback from our business teams about help us get learning early, a lot earlier, on new product or new campaign launches. In the past, we've had to wait a long period of time to get the in-market results to see if our new products were successful or our new campaigns were moving the dial at all. And through mobile, we could send push trigger surveys out to someone the instant they purchase an item. Or we could do ad testing on someone's couch as they're experiencing an ad in real time when they're multitasking and watching TV and also have their mobile phone in front of them. And so these new capabilities really open the door for a lot of mobile momentum as well. But this is not without fail. I making it sound maybe like it was really easy to get to that quote unquote 80%, but we stubbed our toes a lot along the ways, and we still continue to, and so I'll share some of those failures, if you will, here. So I'd say the biggest issue that we have in the mobile conversion is everybody is now encouraged to be doing more mobile research, and so oftentimes you'll have people come to our team and they'll say, all right, I get it, we need to do this on mobile. I've got this concept creator tool or concept evaluator tool. Let me do that on a mobile phone. And so they'd send us this 45-minute questionnaire and want to do it on a 2-inch by 3-inch screen. And I don't have to tell you how that goes. It's horrible for the respondent, and it just plain doesn't work very well. So when we're able to convince them to bring that survey down to the 20 questions that matter most and try to get it to under 7 or 8 minutes, they'd finally get comfortable with that, and then they'd say, okay, well, now I want to do some ROR on that because I want to compare the results from the mobile study to the benchmarks that we have in the past. And if data was different, if they were seeing differences, they would say, oh, this isn't working. And I would say, yes, it is. We're finally getting the real data. We're not getting the awkward data that we've had in the past. And so this ROR issue has been problematic for us. Multimedia paralysis is another issue for us. So the first time we did a mobile survey and we got back 1,000 images, we were thrilled, and then we didn't know what to do with it. And so you can get smart about that. You can tag your photos and you can tag your videos, and there are some shortcuts, but it is still very manual. There is no Wordle that helps bubble up key themes from a series of images or a series of videos, and so we're looking for help with that as well. And then while we never turn down a business question. If we get a business question, we always say, hey, we can cobble something together. We can do something magical here. And we fall down sometimes, admittedly. And so we will invent a new method, and we will have a business team rely on us. They'll commit some cash to us. They'll be waiting for the results for this key decision meeting. And from time to time, we've had to kind of come in, tail between our legs, and say, hey, this didn't work. And so that continues to be an issue. And then the last one, the DIY scissors. What I mean by that is with the mobile movement, with the fact that we have more and more mobile methods at our disposal, we also have more and more DIY mobile methods, do-it-yourself mobile methods at our disposal, and that's wonderful for the experienced researcher, but for more junior researchers, or worse, for marketers, it means that they can run with scissors and do research and think that they're getting at the same results that we have in the past, and so we have to be careful with that. We've had to keep an eye out for some of those mishaps as well. But nonetheless, having some issues, we're moving on. So in January of 2014, we disbanded our mobile team. We no longer internally support mobile projects at General Mills. And we created a new team called Emerging Technologies, and that's when I joined the team, and I was asked to lead a group to this end. And we're focused exclusively on finding what's next. So we're in a time of exponential innovation in the world of technology, and we want to make sure that we're staying ahead of or not far behind that curve. So we're out scouting and we're experimenting and we're playing in these spaces. And I'll talk a little bit about what that is and why we have the confidence to do that at this point. So first of all, maybe not 80%, but we're at the tipping point. We're close enough. There are a number of toolkits that we haven't done anything in the mobile space with, but we've got a line of sight to get there. We've identified partners that can help, and we trust that we're going to get over the edge, and we'll be there in no time. We also have a solid Rolodex. Andy vetted well over 100 suppliers. I feel like I've vetted almost 100 suppliers in my 3 or 4 months on the job. And so we know who to call, and we don't need a mobile team anymore to hold hands and be the middleman. We can, as business teams reach out to us with help with mobile projects, we can consult a little bit, but we typically will make an introduction and step away. The supplier supplier universe seems ready to help our business teams with their mobile issues. And then lastly, we know what our barriers are, and we're just not going to wait around until all these things get resolved. I'm sure we'll talk a lot about a number of these today, and I know a lot of you in the room are helping us address them as we go. I'm going to build these all at once, and I'll try not to spend too much time on it. But some of the biggest issues we're currently having with mobile that we just plain need addressed, but we're not going to wait around for, are with respect to global the global penetration of mobile phones is through the roof, of course. Truly global panel is not existent in our experience so far with some of the targets we've been trying to reach, and so that's a huge area where we need help. Also, mobile panels aren't exactly representative just yet, and so we sometimes struggle with lower incidence groups, and so we need help there. Data stitching and gamification, I'm sure we'll talk about over the next couple of days. These seem to be buzzwords in the mobile space, and not to suggest that they don't work, but we've struggled with the data stitching thing, and with gamification, where we've seen gamification brought to us, it tends to be more about creative kind of ways to swipe and inserting smileys instead of 10-point scales. And we want consumers to play games and get the data from that. And we don't feel that we're there just yet. Next generation toolkits and ROR. What I mean by that is I'm so excited about doing the old types of research that we've done on a mobile phone, because I think it opens so many more doors. It delivers richer insights. Think about path to purchase or brand equity tracking, but done on a mobile phone. That's all wonderful. I'm looking for more next generation toolkits, and I'm looking for, again, some ROR on why that research is better than how we've been doing things in the past. It will only help with the adoption internally. And then true full service from A to Z, really. So I think our technology companies are getting better at marketing research. Marketing research companies are getting better at technology. Panel providers are able to do a little bit of both as well. But we have yet to find somebody who we can just approach with a business question. They can design a really impressive design really impressive research, and then report back a story to us, not pages and pages of data, but a story that's has infographics and is truly that full service experience where our business teams can take that deliverable and run with it. And then just keeping pace with technology. Technology is changing by the day, and we want to make sure our supplier partners are helping us lead out. All right, so the biggest reason we're moving on is because we're just salivating about what's next. Does anybody know what this is on the screen behind me? Yeah, it's a 3D printer. So Hershey, many of you may know, Hershey recently invested in 3D printing, and they claim that they'll have 3D printing vending machines on corner markets in the very near future. You can imagine the data you can get from having people print their own candy and their own designs, and so we're really excited about what's next. That's one small example that may be a little bit farther out, but I want to talk about where we're focused. So in general, we have a pretty clean slate. We can focus anywhere. We can chase shiny objects, and we can try to modernize our toolkit in any way we see fit, but I try to think about it in these three buckets. So new applications, new data streams, and new technology. So and I'll give a couple of more futuristic examples, or maybe not all that futuristic examples, and then I'll share some close-in wins. So on the new applications front, the image is maybe tough to see in the back. It's an iBeacon, and iBeacon helps us take location-based research to the next level. It can pinpoint a consumer's location to within about 4 inches. And so you can imagine the work that you can do with that type of technology. When you think about the whole wearables movement and the movement towards the quantified self, that will completely redefine the way that we think about behavioral research, behavioral data. Behavioral data currently is essentially Nielsen data that we get about transactions and sales data, but imagine what you can do when you can tap into consumers through wearables. And then with new technology, one example is the smart appliance movement. The Nest was mentioned in the last presentation. But if you can imagine a smart refrigerator that can keep track of the inventory in the fridge as you draw it down, it can make suggestions on what you should prepare for dinner based on what you have available. It can push coupons out, and it just opens the many, many doors with respect to research once we get to a place where those smart appliances are in kitchens around the world. But we're not there yet. I've yet to walk in a kitchen where people have a smart refrigerator. I'm not exactly sure how to get information from my consumer's Fitbit onto my desktop. So it's coming soon. The technology exists, but and we can't wait to get there. But it's maybe not quite ready in 2014. And so, but to date, in just our first 3 or 4 months of forming this emerging technologies team, we've had some wins in these spaces. We were so interested in the gamification thing that we finally said, you know what, let's just do a couple of cold calls. And we reached out to a company that makes these fashion game apps where you allow users to create their own style by putting wardrobes together. And we said, hey, any chance you could do something like that for us? Could we do a create your own cereal or create your own granola bar game? And they've been helping us to that end. And so we're really excited about co-creation through gamification. to help out with our innovation pipelines. On new data streams, we've had a lot of luck doing some interesting work with getting better and faster, more robust Nielsen data, so to speak. So through receipt loyalty scanning programs, and there are some suppliers here today that can talk to you about that, you're able to get information from channels that aren't currently tracked, like bodegas and C-stores. You're able to get information on categories that aren't currently scanned, like produce and ethnic foods, and really get that information in real time, and we've been really excited about that as well. And then in the new technology space, we, in fact, just yesterday received this item in the mail. It's a Mi Mini. I don't know if anybody is familiar with them or have used them, but it's basically a little camera that clips to your chest, and it takes a picture every 30 seconds. And so a woman back at our office still was sending us pictures of her day yesterday with this thing strapped to her shirt. But you could imagine the information you can get by basically seeing the world through the eyes of your consumers as they attend an event, as they prepare the kids for school, as they're making dinner. And so, it's a little gadget that we think can unlock some richer insights for us. With that, that's really all I have. I'm just going to close by saying that we're at a wonderful time in the world of research right now today. I think technology is opening a ton of doors, and it's just playing time to challenge the way that we have traditionally done research and think about doing research not in 45-minute, 45-question surveys, get away from the focus group and embrace technology and let that take us to the next level. And so for those of you on the client side that are maybe a little bit more junior in your experience here, I'd just close in the same way Janine did a few years ago by saying, come on in, the water's warm. With that, I will take some questions if we have time.
Thank you very much, Ryan. So, do we have questions, Ryan?
Hi, thanks for a great talk. My name's Tom Van Hammond. I'm not a young guy. I'm an old guy. But I've been through a lot of emerging technologies. And one of the questions I have for you is, how do you handle this onslaught of visuals that come in through mobile? How do you interpret that data, and how do you manipulate it?
Yep, so we started out by not being prepared for it. So we would get this onslaught of visuals and multimedia data, and it took manual hours to sift through it, to identify themes. We then realized that we had to kind of game the system a little bit, and so we would do things like we'd tag photos, and sometimes we would outsource that, and we would make some poor soul go through the images and tag them. But oftentimes we'd ask our consumers to help with it. So for example, if we sent consumers out to a store on a shopping mission, and we wanted them to capture their experience, after each photo we might include a really simple question saying like, hey, was that last picture of a new product? Was it of a display? Was it of something frustrating? And then we'd still have many images to go through, but they'd at least be organized, and we could easily sift through instead of thousands of pictures, the maybe 100 that happen to be new items that caught their eyes. So we've had to work with shortcuts, and to date, I have yet to see someone that has an automated program that can help with that, but that's absolutely an issue.
Hi. What kind of questions from your internal clients can you not answer by mobile research?
So we don't turn anything down. We find ways to answer via mobile research. I would say that the one thing that we get the most pushback for is you just can't replace the value of that face-to-face interaction. And through mobile and things like FaceTime, you can kind of get there. You can. You're going to hear later today about the ability to do shopper intercepts, or today or tomorrow, about the ability to do shopper intercepts and moderate them over the phone. That's a great way to get that, to be able to ladder through mobile, so it's not just a survey where it's completely cold and you're away from the experience. I mean, I'm telling you, it seems like mobile it's in context, it's real, it's people are so intimate with their devices, they'll share more with their device than they will with you. And so we have yet to find something where we can't tackle it on a mobile phone. One on the middle table, those two tables.
Hi, I'm Deb Campbell. I'm from Nestle. Thank you very much. It's really interesting. And you've touched on a lot of the struggles that we've had as we've converted. So my question is, I'm not sure I understand what you've done with your research department. So you had 7 people that were doing mobile, but now you're not. So does that mean that your internal clients are now working directly with your vendors, or do you still have kind of a traditional research department and now mobile is just part of the toolbox?
Yeah, good question. Sorry if I didn't make that clear as we went. So, oversimplifying our consumer insights function, we have the vast 75% or so of our folks in consumer insights at General Mills are tied to brand teams. And we've got a small pocket of individuals that we call our central research team. It's basically our in-house suppliers where we have proprietary methods. In the past, we had up to 7 people dedicated to helping our business teams with mobile research projects. We no longer have that team in place. And so you're right, we no longer support those projects. We've got ways for those individuals to reach out directly to our preferred suppliers. So that's the answer to that. This said, that my team currently still does a lot with mobile, and we oftentimes will put our arms around our business partners and say, all right, well, we can help you with this one. Or we make an introduction and kind of play the role of consultant, but we don't actually play project manager for those projects anymore. We will for wearable research, or if someone wants to do something on a smart refrigerator, but we get out of the business. We're out of the business internally of supporting more mobile projects.
Okay, so just to follow up, so if you were supposed to get to, let's call it 80%, let's say you're at 75% of your research is done on mobile, and you're not supporting that anymore, does that mean that 75% of the research that's done at General Mills does not have a corporate researcher who is the middle person between the business client and vendor?
Sort of. The middleman now is the consumer insights individual that is tied to the brand teams. So if the Wheaties team wants to do a research project, the Wheaties CI associate or manager, whoever, will oversee that project. But instead of overseeing it with a middleman and our central middle mobile technology research person, they're now overseeing it with our preferred partner suppliers. So there's always an internal CI person on it. It's just a CI person from the division, not from our central research team. Sorry.
Hi, my name is Beth Bianco, and I have my own consulting firm. I have a question. Are there things you can share with us in terms of what you learned in terms of mobile respondent recruitment?
In terms of mobile respondent recruitment. So tell me a little bit more about what you're looking for.
How do you source the respondents that you would use for some of the studies? You do it at the tracking studies
Sure.
or say product tests?
So we recruit them the same way we recruited research for online. There are mobile panels, and we have supplier partners that we work with. You'll hear from a number of them over the next couple of days that have mobile panel. And mobile panels are almost as big as our online panels. They sometimes skew a little bit younger, a little bit more female, a little bit more, like millennial, for example, a little more tech savvy. But in general, we recruit the same sorts of ways. We will be creative every once in a while with some of these niche targets. So we've got a brand called Food Should Taste Good in our Small Planet Foods division. Sometimes they get creative and we'll recruit through Facebook and we'll connect with them, through that channel. But in general, it's the same way we've always done it.
Thanks very much, Ryan.
Great.
Thank you, Ryan.